Hi everyone, Flaming Footy here and welcome back to a new YouTube video on the channel. And today guys, I'm going to be going over my AFL 2023 season predictions, including the AFL awards. Alright, so I do just want to go ahead and let you guys all know this is my opinion. So let's go ahead, hop right into the video. In 18th position I do have the Hawks. And I feel like this year is going to be a bit of a tough year for them. We know how much experience they have lost through the trade period. Tom Mitchell, Jack Gunston, just to name a couple. Their forward line is looking a little bit troublesome, and their midfield looks a little bit worrying as well, just because of the names they have lost. Jaeger O'Meara goes out of the midfield as well, another big loss for them. But their forward line, I'm wondering how they're going to be able to kick their goals this year. A lot of relying is going to be on Bruce and Lewis. Even though Moore and that do pop up at other times, I still do feel like it is going to be a very tough year for the Hawks. The defence is okay, but other than that, I feel like, this is going to be quite a tough year, and I feel like they're personally in a rebuilding stage. So in at 17th, they've got the GWS Giants. Showed some real promise against the Gold Coast Suns in their practice match that they played against them. Their young talent actually looks to be firing and quite well. They did have a couple of poor moments. The Suns did hang around in the first half, but in the third quarter, they got off and running and won the game. Their ball movement looked pretty decent as well. They managed to get it out of the middle quite well and get back-to-back scores pretty comfortably. I feel like the Giants again this year, they're going to have a poor year. They're going to finish 17th. I don't think they'll be able to take it up to the best of teams. However, though, I do still feel like they'll show improvement. They'll get games into these younger players and start developing them to try and almost fast-track this rebuild. I do feel like they are in a rebuild, even though they've still got plenty of good players, but they have lost quite a lot of good players as well. In at 16, got North Melbourne, see them rising up this year. Some of their additions, Tucker, Logue, Sheasel, Wardlaw through trade and draft period were good. Jason Horne-Francis goes out, but I do feel like Wardlaw could almost be a good replacement for him. Should be able to go right into that middle, even though we haven't seen anything of him just yet. Clarkson as their coach, I think that's going to be quite important as well, to trying to lift them off the bottom. I think this year for North, it's just about picking up a couple of results, but trying to find what works well. I feel like they'll probably be able to surprise a couple of teams and actually really contend well, and maybe be a chance for a couple of upsets this year. North Melbourne will still be towards the bottom of the ladder. I feel like they'll finish in 16th position. Now to the last team in the bottom four, I have West Coast finishing in 15th position. I think their younger players are going to really step up their game this year. Oscar Allen's going to be quite important in their forward line. I reckon he'll have a good year as well. I feel like he should be able to at least bag 30 goals, probably looking at 40 for Oscar Allen, though. He should have a really big year, especially if they want to try and block that hole left by Josh Kennedy. Jack Darling's going to be really important down the forward line as well. But players like Gibney and Chesser this year are going to be really important for the Eagles. And I feel like the addition of Jaden Hunt was perfect. They needed some speed off their half-back line, and he's going to be able to produce exactly that. I reckon West Coast will have some really nice plays from coast-to-coast finishes this year. I think they'll be able to really turn it on when they take risks. They did look their best in the pre-season matches as well. But I do feel like this year West Coast will take it up to plenty of teams, especially at Optus. And I feel like they'll be able to get a couple of upset wins as well, perhaps at Optus as well. And yeah, they'll be able to take it up against some really good sides at Optus probably, if they can try and get that game plan right in the first few rounds. Now at 14th, got the Bombers. I think they'll probably be able to maybe claim a couple of upset wins this year at Marvel. I feel like Brad Scott, with his game plan, a couple of changes for some of their star players, could be good. It's just going to have to be a wait and see over the first couple of rounds. The Bombers do have a easy fixture for the first few rounds as well, so expect them to be 2-1 or something after the first three games. They don't have a too hard of a fixture. I did like what I saw with them against the Suns. However, against the Saints, they did look good. However, they just were inaccurate, and if they're going to be inaccurate this year, they'll finish on the bottom of the ladder. We do know how that can hurt them, but I do feel like Essendon, they're going to be able to win a couple of games, going to be able to surprise lots of teams. Yeah, win a few games, probably a couple of upsets in there as well, and finish 14th. Now in the 13th, I have St Kilda, and I still do see them winning up to 10 games this year. They could win as low as 7 and finish 13th, or win as much as 10 and finish 13th, I reckon. I feel like this year for the Saints, I feel like they're going to be able to definitely claim a couple of upset wins. I think they're going to be an inconsistent side, just like they have been for the past few years. They're probably going to lose a really easy game at Marvel, but then go interstate and win a cracking game away from home. The Saints is going to be hit and miss this year. Max King, he's another hit and miss type of player. I feel like most of their team is hit and miss. They'll have a really good week, and then sometimes they'll have a poor one the next week. And if you've got all your players having a good week, you can get big wins and then have a really big loss the next week. I feel like the Saints just don't have a lot of X factor and talent on their list. They do have some really good players though, like King. Filippo is going to be an absolute star, and I definitely could see them taking up to some really good sides and definitely getting lots of upset wins. I just feel like a couple of their players, though, are a little bit inconsistent, especially in that forward line. That could definitely let them down this year. And, yeah, I feel like they could really finish anywhere from about 8th to 15th. But, yeah, I see them finishing 13th and having a decent year. Now, this is a bit of a big call. Gold Coast in at 12th, in my opinion. This is a bit of a big call, and I know some of you guys aren't going to be happy with this call, but I do have some good reasoning for this call as well. Gold Coast in 12th. Look, Gold Coast's 2 preseason games were very poor. They played poorly in both of them. They had a really good first half against the Bombers and then a really poor second half, and against the Giants, had a decent first half and a poor second half. You see the trends. Gold Coast are going to be a side that's going to contend well in the first half, but could die off in that second half. They are missing Rankin's X factor and talent. Tom Berry was his replacement. However, they're not going to get the same out of him as they will Rankin. Isaac Rankin is a definitely one-of-a-kind, rare kind of player to have at your club, and unfortunately enough, they have lost him to the Crows. But Gold Coast, they've got some great young talent. They've got a great midfield. I feel like if they can get that together, they'll definitely be in finals contention this year. And I still do feel like in 12th they will be in finals contention. But I do feel like it'll be probably a little bit of an under year for Gold Coast, a bit of a disappointing one. However, I feel like if they can win more than 11 or 12 games, they should be able to make finals this year, Gold Coast. But yeah, I reckon they'll finish in 12th. I think they've got some great young talent. But from what we've seen so far, I don't think I can put them much higher than 12th. In at 11th, I got the Adelaide Crows. Some would say good placement. Some would say too low. Some would say too high. I feel like the Adelaide Crows this year are going to be a really interesting and exciting side. Personally, this year they could have a really good year and actually make finals, or they could finish where they did last year, around that 13th, 14th region, or maybe even into the bottom 4. I couldn't see them finishing bottom 4, but 13th or 14th is definitely doable for the Adelaide Crows. If they do have a poor year. However, I do feel like they're going to have a good year and they're going to finish 11th, going to be in finals contention for most of the year. They're going to be a very tough side to beat at the Adelaide Oval. Away from home, that's probably where their weakness will be. But I think they could potentially win every game at the Adelaide Oval they have this year, which would make them starters in the finals. However, I don't think they will. I think they'll win and be very competitive in every single game at the Adelaide Oval. I think they'll come close to winning most teams there and probably will pick up a couple of upset wins there as well. I do see them winning about 11 or 12 games this year for the Adelaide Crows, which is definitely great. They're young players, Darcy Fogarty, Isaac Rankin, Joshua Shelley, Taylor Walker in the forward line looking good. Defence is a bit of a question mark. But yeah, again, midfield's great as well with some of the likes of Berry, Saligo, Laird, Keys, Sloan. Got some absolute tackling machines in there as well. I think this year's going to be a great year for the Adelaide Crows. After getting all these young players, I think the reward's finally going to come. Now on to 10th, the Western Bulldogs. I feel like they're going to be interesting to see this year as well. Some people have them making top 8, some people have them making top 4, some people have them finishing bottom 4, some people have them finishing down towards 12th, 13th. I feel like for the Western Bulldogs, what they displayed in their pre-season game versus North Melbourne was that they've still got lots of class in ball use, in the midfield and all that. Defence is probably their only problem. They did get quite scored against, especially in that last quarter against North Melbourne. But their tool stock's actually quite athletic as well and can do some decent ground ball work as well, which is definitely impressive for the Western Bulldogs. They did just go and get even more tools in the trade period, which you do question that. But now they've actually seen them all playing together in the same side, they actually don't look too bad. And I could definitely see them making finals. Their draw could suggest they make finals as well. I do feel like they'll finish 10th and will just finish just outside the finals. But yeah, I feel like this is going to be a really interesting year for the Western Bulldogs. And also most of their key players are younger, on the younger side of things. Jamara, Sam Darcy, just to name a couple. I have Port Adelaide finishing in 9th this year. I feel like they'll just miss out on the finals. I feel like they're going to play some really good games this year. We know their additions throughout the trade period. Francis Evans, Junior Rioli, Jason Horne-Francis. That's not a bad bunch at all. And we do know their midfield is pretty good, like with obviously former Brownlow medalist Ollie Wines, Travis Boak. It is an older midfield, however, you've still got some of the likes of Connor Rosie, Zach Butters, Xavier Dersma, which are the younger players, which will definitely play in there a lot this year after being trialled in there last year, especially Connor Rosie. I think he's going to be an absolute gun this year for the Power. Now, finals is definitely not out of the equation for them. We do know Ken Hinkley's under a lot of pressure as a coach at the moment. I feel like they'll finish 9th this year. They'll definitely be in finals contention for most of the year and probably be in finals for most of the year as well. But yeah, I do feel like a lot for them will definitely lean on that round 24 game versus Richmond and that round 23 game versus Fremantle, for that matter of fact. So they do have some really big games this year to Port Adelaide. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they go. But their list is not in bad condition at all. They've got some great forwards as well. Todd Marshall, Georgiades. The first team I have making the 8 is Carlton. I feel like they'll just finish in 8th this year. I think, look, their fixture's not too bad. They should be able to make the 8 with not too much hardness. But look, there'll be times this year where they're in and out of the 8, I reckon. But yeah, their younger players that they got for the draft, especially Lockie Cowan. He looks good, Lockie Cowan. I tell you, that game that he played against Sydney, he does look like a beast. He didn't necessarily grab up the numbers or anything like that. He just did little things which just make you go, wow. Now, Carlton this year, forward line looks good. Mackay, Kerno. We know that if one doesn't get you, the other will. Dynamic duo down the forward line. Some of the others like Motlop, Owies, Durden, really great small forwards. And their midfield as well, like with Cripps and Walsh, Kennedy, is really good as well. Defence isn't too bad either. So I feel like this year, for the list they've got, and they've added Cherry and Akers in the last couple of years, they should be making finals, no doubt about it. Got Collingwood finishing 7th. We know last year what they did. Won so many close games to finish 4th. This year for me, for Collingwood, has to be they've got to win games by bigger margins. They've got to prove that they are a top 8 quality side or top 4 quality side that can go and beat other teams pretty convincingly. Because last year they rode their luck. Their luck is what got them into the top 4. If they had have lost most of those close games, they would have finished in the bottom 4. So this year for Collingwood, I am expecting a fall to 7th in my opinion. Dacos brothers, we know how well they're tracking. Their preseason was alright. It definitely wasn't the best preseason, which kind of does suggest is why I've put them in 7th. Not a convincing win against the Hawks and lost to the Blues. However, I do still feel like with their list is in good shape, and they never say die attitude should definitely help them finish 7th or higher this year. I've got Richmond finishing in 6th. Personally, I would have had them higher. However, just that preseason game versus Melbourne did make me think otherwise about them. And that game against North Melbourne as well. They just haven't looked quite as good as what I felt like they were going to be this year. I felt like they were going to be top 4 side up there in the top 4 this year. They just haven't shown that to me just yet. And that's why I've put them in 6th. I feel like their midfield with the additions of Taranto and Hopper's good. That half backline and backline for the Tigers is really good. But that half backline with midfielder defenders, if you get what I mean, like Baker, Short, those kind of versatile players are really good. And their forward line is also pretty good as well. Bolton, Lynch, Revolt. We do know that they do have a good forward line. Martin. I just feel like this year, though, the Tigers are getting on. They are getting old as well. Their players are getting older, which could lead to a little bit of, not so greatness this year for the Tigers. I still do feel like they will finish in 6th position pretty comfortably and still be one of a really good side this year. But yeah, I just feel like from where I had them a couple of weeks ago to now has definitely decreased from their performances. But I still do feel like this year they'll still be a great side. In 5th, I have Sydney. I feel like their performance against Carlton definitely did back up why they will still be in flag contention this year. I feel like they're going to be a great side. Errol Goulden, an absolute beast. What a performance he put up against Carlton as well. They lost the week prior to Brisbane, was disappointing. But I do feel like they bounced back from that pretty well against another finals contender in Carlton. They really did show that they are still going to be right back around the top 4 and back in flag contention this year. Their young list is looking good. Their list is in great shape. I don't see anything wrong with their list. They've got plenty of young talent. I reckon they'll definitely finish 5th this year. And the SCG is an absolute fortress for them. They'll be able to go there and win plenty of games, which almost just that itself should give them a finals ticket anyway. People are saying they might fall off. They might fall off, but I do see that being unlikely, especially with their talent that they've got, and just the SCG itself really doesn't suggest that will happen. On to the top 4. In 4th spot, got Fremantle. I think Flagmantle is well and truly alive in 2023. I feel like they did lose players like Akers, Logue, Tucker, Lobb, but they did gain some players as well, like Luke Jackson. He's a really big one that they did gain. Was definitely Luke Jackson. Big one. I feel like he'll be able to work really well in their forward line. And we know in the past couple of years, like Will Brodie, he wasn't a pickup this year, but he's been a great pickup for the Dockers. Throughout 2022, he showed that he is an underrated player. And then their midfield like Brayshaw, Sarong is really good. Now Fife looks like he could be a forward this year. Showed some really good signs against the Power. I feel like the Dockers, even though they did lose to the Crows in the preseason game, their win against the Power was really important and really exciting for Fremantle fans. And yeah, I think they'll definitely, I reckon they're a good chance for the top 4 this year. That's why I've got them finishing 4th. In 3rd, I have Melbourne. I feel like Melbourne will be right up towards the top end of the ladder this year. They could finish anywhere from 1st to 3rd, I reckon. Got them in 3rd. Gawn plus Grundy is going to be an unstoppable ruck duo at Melbourne. They've already showed how much damage they can do against the Tigers. I think they'll be damaging all year. We know Petrarca, Oliver, their whole team is just a really good team, a really exciting team. Yes, their strap may have been found out about the defensiveness with May and Lever and all that, but I still feel like they're going to be a really good side this year. They're going to be definitely contending and pushing for the flag, and yeah, I feel like they're going to be a really tough side to beat in 2023 just because they're stars. They've got stars all over the ground to this Melbourne footy club. Got the Cats in 2nd. I feel like the Cats will be an unstoppable force this year, definitely looking towards the top of the ladder. Now, I reckon it'll be between them and Brisbane as to who gets first, but they did just show a couple of signs of weakness against the Lions, even though they were missing like a lot of their good players though. So you can't really put anything down to that big loss against the Lions because they were missing quite a lot of their players. However, if they do have an injury-plagued year though, Geelong, they are getting older. Players could be more prone to injuries. If they do have an injury-plagued year, Geelong, could this mean something? Could they slide down the ladder? Potentially. A lot of us have thought the Cats will be sliding down a lot more than what they have. I still feel like they'll be in finals contention this year. Bruin, Henry, Bowes, Jai Clark, some of their big additions throughout the trade and draft period. They've got young talent everywhere now, the Cats. So, yeah, I don't really see them falling off anytime soon at the moment, especially with the likes of De Koning, Stengel, etc., etc. Which that leaves us with first, the minor premiers for 2023, I predict will be Brisbane. I think they are going to have a great year this year. They showed it in the pre-season games how unstoppable they're going to be. Their additions, Dunkley, Ashcroft, Gunston, just looked right at home in that Brisbane outfit, and some of their other players that have already been there for years upon years know what they're doing. This is just a really good side in the best shape it has ever been. I think Brisbane are going to be a real flag contender this year, and watch out, because I reckon they're going to finish on top of the ladder. They've got lots of young talent everywhere, lots of experienced talent as well. They're going to be a very tough side to beat this year, especially at the Gabba, because this year, it'll be a fortress. Alright, my rising star winner for this year is going to be Will Ashcroft from the Brisbane Lions. We've already seen what he can do. I reckon he's going to tear the competition apart this year. A midfielder who can go forward, kick goals. He's probably going to have 40-plus disposal games and like games where he gets 40 disposals and like 2-plus goals. He's going to be insane this year for Brisbane, is Will Ashcroft. I think Tom Lynch will win the Coleman from Richmond. I feel like Richmond might have a little bit of trouble of maybe getting some goals this year. I reckon Tom Lynch is going to be a real reason as to why he's going to lift his side to contend for the top 4 this year. I feel like they'll be contending for the top 4 this year. Well, Richmond, I think, is going to be a big part. He's going to have games where he's going to kick 6, 7 goals. I reckon he could potentially have like 4 of those games where he has some really, really, really good games and gets lots of goals in many games this year. And my Brownlow is Lachie Neale, and he's already won a Brownlow, but I just feel like what this man does in Brisbane's midfield, I just feel like he's just going to have a really good year this year. He's going to be so important to them getting closer to a flag, and I think this year is probably going to be better than the year that he actually won the Brownlow. I think this year he's going to be able to go forward, get goals on multiple occasions as well. I just feel like he would probably be one of the best players in the league this year. So those are my AFL 2023 season predictions. I probably will make a short version of this with the ladder, just in case if people don't want to watch the long version, which is fine. I do understand that. And I'm also going to be doing my squiggle predictions as well, going through every game, just to see how different they are compared to this one. So this is just my opinion. Feel free to let me know your opinion in the comment section down below on your ladder and your season predictions. But thank you guys all so much for watching. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so then you guys never miss another video on the channel. Thank you guys all so much. Bye everyone. Flaming Footy out.